She Can We lead with women's stories. We show women role models and mentors from around the world and listen to their stories, how they got to where they are today. And I'm really excited to talk to Lyck Smitshuysen today. Anne, it's really lovely to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are something that I don't even know what that means. You are a fuel cell specialist. You hold a master's in physics and nanotechnology, and you're a partner at DynElectro, a Danish innovation firm accelerating the green energy transition. You are very successful. You raised 11 million euros and you have 9 million in grants, and you offer unique power to X technologies which produce carbon neutral green fuels. Tell us more about what you do, and then we'll get into your journey, the pivotal points that led you to where you are today.
Yeah. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. It's a pleasure being here. So actually, on top of all the things you mentioned, I'm also doing an industrial PhD in collaboration with the Technical University of Denmark. And of course, the company of DynElectro, where I'm a partner. So I would say to take it into like something you can get a grasp of what I'm doing, it's the power to X term is something that we started using in the recent years. And what it basically covers is that you use green electricity that could be sun power, it could be wind power, and then you convert it into something else. And that is where I come in, and the company of DynElectro comes in, is we have this electrolysis technology where we use this green electricity to split water. So by splitting water, as most people know, it's made out of oxygen and hydrogen, and that is what we get out. And then you can take hydrogen as like the building stone to make green fuel. So by combining it with other processes, you can make ammonia, which like freighters and shipping around the globe are looking into using as a substitute fuel. But you can also go even higher and make jet fuels, actually, if you combine it with this concept called carbon capture, where you take CO2 out of the atmosphere or at chimneys where there's a lot of CO2, then you can make all kinds of fuel. And by that, you can actually make it in a sustainable way. So instead of just pounding greenhouse gases out, CO2 and all of these things, we actually make it like a circular thing. So you reuse the CO2 that we already emitted into the atmosphere. And by then you can make it more sustainable. So we don't put more CO2 out, we just reuse what we already have.
And it blows my mind, literally. I want to know how you got to where you are today. How does one become a fuel cell specialist? When did you realize I'm quite sciencey, I'm good at this? You've achieved so much at such a young age, and you're at the forefront of all this technology. Tell us more about your journey.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been a little bit techie, I suppose. Even as a kid, I enjoyed mathematics. And I mean, my dad is working as an engineer. He has four girls, no boys at home. So I mean, all the techie stuff that he would do, we would just tag along. So actually, my three sisters are also working in engineering fields. And I think, I mean, a lot of my upbringing was just like being encouraged to examine things and look at it in with a science angle, right? My mom's a teacher, so she also had some love of like teaching, and she's also into like mathematics and natural sciences. And for a long time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Knew I wanted to make a difference in some way. And then last year of high school, I encountered this technology of electrolysis, and I was so intrigued by it that when I had to figure out where to go next, I said to myself, well, where do I need to go to learn more about this? And where do I need to go to be able to develop this technology? Because I saw a huge potential in it. I mean, having something circular energy wise that is also sustainable, that was just too intriguing to let go. So I went to the Technical University of Denmark, and I did both my bachelor's and my master's here, and I specialized in sustainable energy. And for every project opportunity I had, I would go to the Department of Energy Conversion and Storage, where they work with this specific technology. And I mean, ever since then, I haven't let go. So, and I think that's also what is driving me today, is like, I find the technology so promising and so intriguing that I mean, just being a part of developing this technology with the brightest minds we have in Denmark, it's a privilege, right?
It's super exciting. And it blows my mind that you have gotten onto a subject in your last school of high school. So you must have been 17 maybe, or something
Yeah.
like that. And you've stuck with it like a terrier to the bone for all these years, and you've been following the path to learn more about it. What would you say is your main motivator going forwards, Anne? What is your really big vision?
Yeah, so I mean, vision wise, I would say that if it has an impact on how we think about green energy or in our energy system in total, that would mean the world to me, right? So I always believe that we can do better than what we do now. And if I can be a part of developing a technology that can get us moving in the right direction, leaving the world a better place than we got it in, then that would be something of a goal in itself.
And so tell us a little bit how your working life looks like. What does that mean? Do you work in a lab? How much of the business side do you do? Tell us a little bit more about your day-to-day job as it is and how you fit it in. You're also a mom and so on.
Yeah, so I mean, my days vary quite a lot. I'm also building a lab these days, so I have quite a few things on my plate. But I'm going a lot to the lab, wearing a lab coat, making these experiments, trying out how to carry out this process so we can actually move forward, right? Improving what we can do so far. And well, last year I was a part of the pitching round for investors we were bringing on board. So I mean, there's not 2 days that are similar. It's varying quite a lot. I'm also doing computer modeling. So as you can hear, there's a lot of different things going on. So it's not like I have like a typical day. The only thing that I do know is that I have to be home by dinner because I have 2 kids.
Yeah, amazing. And so tell us more about this experience of raising capital for DynElectro, and tell us a bit more about that, and what do you think you learned from it, because there is very little capital going into companies with women at the helm, and it's difficult to raise money. And so tell us a bit about that experience.
Well, I would say now we have a very visionary founder, and he certainly helps in the equation of raising capital, right? Because he has a passion for the technology just as much as I do. So what we bring is then the engineering angle to it, and then we also have some others very skilled people who are bringing like the more, what do you say, commercial angle to the table. So I think that is what is giving us a strong profile, is that we have the engineering skills, but we also have the commercial skills. We have a very, very talented CCO in the company who is excellent at formulating all of these advanced management strategies that you have to have in place for raising capital. So luckily we have, well, both her and then our founder. So we're what you would call a mixed team, right, of both male and female.
Yeah.
Of course, it would be something completely different if we were all female. You can see it in the statistics that female founders have harder issues than mixed teams. But I think having both the science and the commercial management angle is then something that gives us the edge that makes people want to invest in us.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, what would you say are the top qualities that really serve you every day?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, I have, what do you say? My top qualities. Actually, it's a little bit funny because I have for quite some years been struggling because I have a very strong empathetic side.
Yeah.
Which didn't play to my benefit for a long time, but I'm starting to accept it and actually see the benefit of it. And it's not a trait that is recognized or valued that much, especially not in science related fields necessarily, right? But I think I realized that I can actually turn it into a strong side of mine. Of course, there's the science and the curiosity that drives me on a daily basis, but the fact that I can help my colleagues, my partners, improve their work through the way I behave around them is actually something that I started to find quite interesting. It's more of a, what do you say, like a softer trait, actually. And for a long time, I was struggling with it because I didn't see how it would fit into like the career path that I chose. But slowly it's turning around and I actually start to see it as one of my strengths.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So, but other than that, I think, I mean, I have a very strong scientific curiosity and I'm also very stubborn. I mean, what is like a strong side of mine is also like having this stubbornness to have the urge to go do something, even though it's hard. And then like the feeling once you succeed is unlike anything else, right?
And so I'm wondering, what do you feel are the biggest challenges you face as a scientist, as a person with a tech startup, as part of a team? What do you feel are the sort of challenges you face, and how do you overcome them?
Well, there's a lot of challenges depending on where you look, right? I mean, the challenge of being a small scale-up company is you don't have all the means in the world to do whatever you want, right? So you have a certain amount of money and you have to get by with what you have. Then there's the PhD in itself is a struggle. I mean, there's a lot of unknown parameters that you have to navigate in, and like things that aren't going according to plan. And then you have to find a way around it, or so. I mean, there are a lot of things, but I think one thing that is helping me a lot is trying to plan ahead and make options for what if this doesn't work? What do I do then? And I think that is also what we do in the company is we plan ahead, and so far we can see that our roadmaps are well happening accordingly, right? So that is I would say that is probably what I use the most, is trying to plan ahead and see how to navigate eventual challenges that may arise. Of course, sometimes there are things you can't control, and then you have to be creative in how to solve these things, right?
Yeah, I think that's where the stubbornness comes in. So you always find ways to get there. And so I'm wondering, what tips would you give to younger women if they're onto, sciencey subjects and they think that's really exciting, or they have an idea, or they caught onto something like you did? What would you tell them?
I think the most important thing that I can say is that they need to be true to themselves. I know it's a little bit of a cliche, but I think most of my struggles for quite some time was that I wasn't true to myself. I was trying to be something else. And I think once I realized that that was the case, then I could start to evolve and actually improve the person that I am and the scientist that I am. But it can be difficult once you get into an environment where you don't feel like you belong. And luckily for me, I found a place, late stage of my bachelor, where I fit in. I started my bachelor project at DTU Energy, and then I found like this research group where I felt like I was a part of something bigger, which I hadn't felt on up until that part. So I was actually struggling quite a bit through my bachelor's. And I mean, being stubborn again, of course, I completed. But looking back, I mean, I took some severe hits, and it took me quite some time to recover from it. So being true to yourself and figuring out who you are and who you want to be as a scientist or where you're going career-wise is something that I see as a very important part of being human, and being a scientist is, I mean, then of course you once you find your shelf or wherever you belong, then you fight for what you believe in, and you fight for the science that you're developing. And I think another thing that I never really accepted is that I don't take my gender as a limit for what I can do, but I rather use it like as a source of power. And I don't know if it's a little bit defiant, but sometimes I have like this thought, I'll show them I can do it even though I'm a woman, right? So,
which you have, and I mean, you have such an amazing CV, and you've been recognized for it, and you're at the forefront of science and technology. So it's amazing to have you as a role model and mentor, and the girls watching this video, I'm sure, will be so grateful. I'm wondering, give us a little bit the reason why you are actually telling your story. What would you like for girls to perceive from this conversation?
I think it's important to show that there are women out there doing, what may from time to time seem impossible. I didn't meet a woman within science like within the first couple of years of my education, so it was all men. And of course, I think we were around 7 young women in a class of 70. But besides that, all the lecturers, all the professors, they were all male. And I didn't give it much thought back then, but looking back, just having someone to look up to, someone where you could see, okay, but there's actually a woman here who is like excelling within her field. She's a renowned professor or wherever she might be in academia, right? And I think for a couple of years I didn't really notice it, but once I look back, I would have appreciated having someone, or at least more women, to look up to. And that's why I'm doing this today. Is I think it's important to show women in a wide range of roles, from CEOs to scientists to explorers of the world, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I'm very grateful you said that. It's very powerful. It's our whole raison d'etre at She Can. So tell us the big vision, the plans for the next couple of years. Where are you heading?
Yeah, so right now, at least for my project, we are building this like demo scale lab to demonstrate what we can do. And then we're looking out for partnerships to co-create this technology. We have a few partners in mind, and we have a dialogue going. We also have plans with the Technical University of Denmark to proceed the project work, so we can further develop this concept that we're working on.
And it's amazing. I am so grateful for your time, your story, your advice, your orientation for younger girls. And I'm also so grateful that you show us that you can lead with empathy as a scientist and in a technology startup. And I think that's really important, because I have interviewed many girls or women that are doing research or are scientists, and they are really changing the atmosphere within their labs and their working environments, because it's been a male a naturally male. They were all men, so they obviously set up a work culture around them, and that is changing now. So I'm so grateful for every woman who shows us that these soft skills are important and you can be who you are. So thank you so much, Anne.
Yeah, thank you.